Good evening and welcome to the South Haven Planning Commission regular meeting for Thursday, September 5th, 2019. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Marcia, roll call, please.
Velma Cunningham, Sam Dustin.
Here.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Neese,
Here.
Rosalie Placati,
Here.
Janice Varney,
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. And I just want to quickly say welcome to the board, Todd.
Thank you.
And then next up, I'll have approval of the agenda, and I request that item 11 be moved to item 5A.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and move item 11 to 5A.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as amended. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, approval of the minutes of the July 11th and August 12th meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend the August 12th special meeting minutes on page 12 of today's packet.
Okay, let's take them one at a time then.
Okay.
We'll
I
do
move to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 11th as presented.
July 11th.
July 11th, sorry.
Yep.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the July 11th regular meeting minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, next up.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of August 12th special meeting with the change on page 12 of tonight's agenda as printed, substituting the name Heinig for the name
You caught
Pelsi
that, I caught that too. I would have voted yes.
in the vote on the item just above 7, Commissioners'
Okay.
comments.
Do you need that page?
That's page number 12.
Yeah, do you need that one?
Oh, no.
Why don't
Not
you
now.
pass that down so Marcia gets a
Okay.
copy of that?
I was surprised to see my name on there. I wasn't there.
And I was.
So instead of Placati, it would be Varney, or Heinig?
Yep.
Okay.
Excuse me. Are there any other amendments? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion. Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the August 12th minutes as amended. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, item 5, interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. Is there anybody here to speak on anything not on the agenda? Elaine? Name, address, 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Elaine Herbert, and I'm supposed to be canning tomatoes right now, but instead I'm here. Did you guys get the letter that I sent to the city and asked to be forwarded to you? Good, because I haven't received any response from the city that it was even received, or any information from the city that it was being forwarded to you. So I just wanted to know if that letter was forwarded to you. So for those of you who weren't here, this is about the Victoria Resort. My request was that, and now knowing that we don't have a planning administrator, my request would be that this become an agenda item at the Planning Commission to take a look at the Victoria Resort. 3 acres of property that has been a resort now, non-conforming use for probably 50 years, 60 years maybe, and was owned for about 30 to 35 years by Bob and Jan Lexish. He sold it about 30 years ago, and now we have this guy who has this non-conforming use doing all sorts of changes to it, gigantic changes, commercial changes to it, including weddings for 300, parties at the old residence for 100, commercial Tesla charging, and yoga, community yoga classes twice a week, and other kinds of things. The non-conforming uses in buildings, section 1900 of the zoning code starts on page 187, and it is damn confusing. And the reason it is because when you read it, the people who formed and who formulated it certainly never anticipated that when they were writing it, the non-conforming uses, if it had to fade backwards and to become a conforming use in a residential area, that residential area, the R1 zone would be somehow almost more onerous to live by than what this guy's been doing on that 3 acres for 50 years. Because my thought is that what's worse, that quiet little bed and breakfast that Jan and Bob had for years, decades. I've been at my house 25 years and haven't had any problem with it at all. Or if they took that 3 acres and made it all into single-family homes that each had 12 people in it and hardly any parking, which they can do now, and it was something like that. That seemed like the only two options to me. I didn't think you could be like analogous to a single-family home there and do that there and this over here and a B&B in the middle. Or it seems to me it's got to be one or the other. But boy, the code is complicated. I did sit on Planning Commission for right around 20 years, and I know how to read these codes. And this thing is very, very, very confusing in terms of what this guy can do. And of course, I get nothing from the city. I don't know what they're talking about and what he can do, but this is the time. I started 2 years ago asking the city to have him please stop having weddings of 300 people on that property with amplified music and catering trucks and potties on trucks. And it hasn't stopped. And so before he starts advertising for 2020, I'd like to see some kind of direct guidance from the Planning Commission on if he has clearly expanded the use of that since the day he bought it, clearly, an expansion of the use. So what is the city going to do? How does it read legally here? How are they going to interpret it? If he can all right, so that's my question.
No, it's one more minute.
Okay, my question is, the zoning ordinance, what I can feel coming from the city is that what he's doing in this ex-residence is analogous to what anybody who lives in a residential area can do. Invite 100 of their closest friends to pay them or 300 of them to have $40,000 weddings every single weekend of summer. Sure, we can all do that, right? There is a part in it that says that, of course, if he goes back and decides that home is of single-family use, that he can't extend the use to occupy any land outside of that building, which means that the house may be a house, but all of the rest of the land can't be part of what's happening at that house. It's super confusing. It needs you guys. Would you please make a determination on what he can do on that 3 acres of property?
It's time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, let's move to item 5A, which was the previous item 11 on the agenda, so that would mean page 101
That's correct.
of your agenda packet. It's for 5 Chippewa Court revetment modification.
Sure, the applicants, the Krupps, are here. They are asking for a modification of an existing revetment / armor stone that is out currently at their property. Having went out there and seen from the water's edge, there is a series of stone blocks that were used at some time, but over time, wave action has moved those blocks around. The Krupps have applied for a permit through Eagle, the former DEQ, as well as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They have received their Eagle permit as of 9/3, which I've just received this today. And they have gone through Harbor Commission review. The Harbor Commission did review this and did have only just a few questions, which were the 4 questions they do ask, which is, does this encroach on the harbor lines? Does this impact navigation? Those are all no's. The other 2 questions were, would this activity impact negatively adjacent property owners? And secondarily, would this affect neighboring property owners' ability to develop their property? From what I could see, and maybe the Krupps could speak to this is that basically the entire shoreline from several properties on either side had this same kind of rocks, stone, kind of, I think someone called it a refrigerator stone, so they're long, long rectangular blocks. And so the idea is to restack them, work in the toe, and then make a mound of a revetment to kind of take some of that energy from their wave action. So that's what's here before you tonight.
Okay.
I can forward through here and kind of show you some of the pictures that have been supplied, as well as where the work would occur. And these are all in your packet. The other question asked at the Harbor Commission is, how would these stones be placed? And I believe, and maybe the Krupps can also speak to this, is I believe that they have permission from a neighboring owner to use that as a ramp to place the stone. This work would be conducted by the DeBest firm. So from the water's edge, you can see that there is this kind of rectangular block that was at some time kind of almost like a wall, which has diminished and failed at some points, and you do see some, I wouldn't say, maybe slipping, or maybe it's just rubble coming down, or it's being splashed up. So the idea is to rebuild it at the toe and then mound it, so restack it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for city staff or the property owners?
Yes. There was one paragraph in the packet here that said the major concern raised by the board was whether an improved revetment structure would negatively impact the neighboring properties. And yet I see no follow-up on that.
On that, I think it's a little tough. I think that any of this structure would have to be improved anyway. It had a life, and I think that maybe it has reached its life, considering that this is how it used to look or was looking. I think that if this is theirs right there, and if the Krupps want to come up and kind of explain what these pictures look like, I think that any other property owner would have to rebuild their portion of the wall. This kind of wall and this kind of rubble extends several property owners to the left, to the north rather, and several properties to the south. So I'd say that there may be some impact, but I think that it's an impact that would have to be felt regardless because of the existing wall that they all have.
Based on my experience with these kinds of construction projects, there's always some impact with the adjacent property. The property to the north seems to have quite a lot of shrubbery on it that certainly adds stability to the embankment, and that would mitigate some of the impacts from the adjacent work. The property to the south, the buildings are set back quite a ways, other side of the road, and but there will be impact, as far as I can see, mitigated somewhat by the stone and the concrete that's already there, but there will be more impact to the south than to the north, as I see it.
Sure. I guess my question was related, and I'm satisfied with the answers I've got, but my question was more related to, would this remedy harm their neighbors? And
I don't think I have an answer for that. I think an argument can be made that could happen. I think an argument could also be made that without bolstering that, the scouring that's going to occur at the south end would be also impacted or would occur if this is not remedied. I don't think there's a clear answer.
Does the new structure come out any further than what the existing structure is now?
There would be some work in the toe, and I think that there would be some armor stone that would come out further because you have to get to the toe of the cliff. But my understanding is that they're trying to go over to the existing embankment and kind of establishing that toe and then building upon that.
And will the structure have a curve to it, or will it be flat?
I believe it will have a slight curve, so it will come up over, so it will have a curve up.
Oh, it'll have a curve up, but not necessarily a curve this.
No, I don't
the
believe
length.
so.
Okay.
That was not my impression.
Okay.
Sure, you got to come right over here.
It will have a curve. It will be flat from first of all, thank you for moving us up. We were in a car accident last Friday, and I broke my neck. But on, can I go back?
Sure, sure, this is the front.
Okay. Because I can really show you. Here. Where's the laser?
Oh, the pointer is that one, yes.
Right here and right here, it's going to curve into the bluff to protect our property. Because if we don't do that, then if stuff starts falling down south of us or north of us, it's just going to ruin all the work we've done. And this is something that Brian DeBest had said this has been the most successful in what he's done. It's not going to be straight up and down. It's going to be at an angle because he said that is when the water is hitting it, it makes the stones stronger way more if they're at a specific angle that he has found. This is the ramp on Janet Olson's property that she's given us permission to use, but is going to require Brian DeBest to write a letter that she will not be liable. And we're supporting her on that. Our neighbors immediately to the north are working with Abermarsh. They want to have an engineer involved before they're ready to pull the trigger. Unfortunately, we don't really feel like we can wait to pull the trigger because of this right here wasn't there 2 years ago when we bought the house. It was solid with shrubbery on it. This happened, we don't know if it happened in October when we had a big storm here or if it happened sometime this spring because there's a little bit of a curve to our yard and we couldn't see, when you'd stand on the steps, you couldn't see that part. A neighbor took these pictures when she was out on her boat and it took her 2 weeks to get the guts up to show them to us. But this tree is also this tree, and in looking at it, if that tree comes down, it's going to pull part of Chippewa down with it. And that's why I have done all the work for these permits to go as quick as we can to get this work started before the big fall winds happen. We were aware of this stuff and this stuff because that's to the north and the south of our steps. I could see it when we walked down the steps. I could not see that. So my husband and I were in consultation, like, how are we going to come up with the money? Do we really want to spend this money? No, we don't want to spend this money, but we don't really have a choice. We have to do something. So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? So you have talked to your neighbors. They
Yes.
are both in the process then of dealing with their own situation. They know what that all looks like.
well,
They know what
to
you're gonna
the
do?
north of us, yes, we have spoken to them. To the south of us, it's the city. It's the end of the street.
Oh,
And the city is aware. Brian DeBest spoke with them and said, do you guys want to do anything? And they went out there and on a boat and said, we think it's secure enough.
okay, but communication has happened.
Yes, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, that was my concern, and that's why I asked the question, especially of how it's going to be built.
Yes.
And from an engineering perspective, which is not, of course, my forte, I didn't know if the structure being round on the end would be more intrusive on people's property than if it was straight.
It will not be on anyone else's property. It will stay in our property lines.
Yeah, but I mean the wave action or the
Yeah.
cutting of, yeah.
I don't know. And I think the only one that knows is Mother Nature. So far, she hasn't been real kind to us.
Okay. Anybody else have any question for the applicant? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, I have a question. It's not truly related to this particular item, but I know with the state of Michigan, the high water mark is usually considered where the property ownership ceases. And when a structure like this is installed, does that permanently set up a delineation?
I'm not, I don't believe it moves the property line, but I think that is why you have to get the permits from the state and from is it the Coast Guard, or no, it's the Corps of Engineers. But no, I don't think it technically moves the property line, but you get the permission. It's almost like a license agreement to build on property that's not technically yours, is my understanding, but
Okay.
I'm not entirely
I would
certain
agree
about
with
that.
I just recently attended a training on Eagle and Army Corps of Engineer permitting in the waterfront. And they both have an ordinary high water mark. They're not exactly the same. So Corps has one and Eagle has another. Those are the limits to certain section numbers where their regulations apply. They don't move necessary unless you have specific datum from a certain time. But again, it does not move the property line if you were to put something in there. The reason why you have to get these permits is because if you're operating in ordinary high water mark from either one of those agencies, you must get them permitted.
Right. And as you know, we're kind of the last stop on a long list of other agencies that have to approve this. So if anybody's ready to make a motion, you'll want to include the other approvals as part of this approval.
Those other approvals would be Eagle and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers permits?
Correct.
And Eagle has been received.
Yeah. But included anyway.
Yep.
Because it's not in this packet.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the shoreline revetment for 5 Chippewa Court, pending approval of both Eagle and the Corps of Engineers.
I'll second. Oh, they already have one, so,
Yeah, but it's not in this packet.
okay.
So,
So I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to item 6. We have the special land use application and site plan review for 260 and 278 Dykeman, which is the Maritime Museum site. Then we're going to do a public hearing. So, Kate, why don't you start us off on synopsis?
Absolutely. In March of this year, I believe it was March, the Michigan Maritime Museum came forth with a preliminary site plan for their expansion of the property when they are going to purchase the Jensen property. When they came to this commission, as well as the Harbor Commission in that earlier this year, there were significant concerns raised. They took those considerations and concerns from both boards and went back to the drawing board, back to their steering committee. What you have before you is a number of responses related to those concerns raised: dredging, parking, site plan, as well as dock configuration. The Harbor Commission considered this item at their August 20th regular meeting. They had a very good discussion about the configuration of the docks. They did make the recommendation to approve the docking plan because they believed that the new configuration would improve navigation as well as widening the river. Of course, all of that's pending permits from Eagle and the Army Corps of Engineers. So taking that, we then sent this over to Williams & Works, our zoning consultants, and they've done a very thorough review of the site plan. Before you tonight is a site plan as well as a special land use. Unfortunately, due to a notice defect, the special land use cannot be considered until the October 3rd meeting. So what is before you is the site plan, which I think there are a number of items that have been flagged on here for your consideration: lighting, landscaping, signage, access. All these seem to be well received. There is something that we wanted to mention on parking. Waterfront uses west of the drawbridge do not need additional parking. However, we are looking at a special land use, and maybe this is appropriate for our next meeting, but we can continue the discussion from this public hearing once we open the public hearing going forward. Is that when you're adding an additional use, and here we're talking about outdoor recreation, outdoor events, maybe we, city staff, zoning, and city attorney have floated the idea that we should probably get a parking plan or some kind of transportation plan. If we're talking guests up to 300 people or 200 people, we want to have an idea as to how those folks are going to come down and not unnecessarily burden neighboring neighborhoods with all the parking. So that's before you here tonight. We do have members from the Michigan Maritime Museum, Patty and Brian Boscraft, Patty Reinert, and then we also have Greg Whitecamp, the consultant putting this together.
Okay. So since the notices didn't quite get out in time, that'll affect the start of this project. So I guess my first question is, pending approvals, when was the expected start for this project?
I don't know. I
Okay.
wasn't sure if we ever had a start date. I'm not sure where they're at with their fundraising.
Okay, because my consideration with that is whether to ask this board if we should schedule another meeting, as soon as these notices are compliant, in the next, what would it be, next week or the week after?
15.
It's 15 days, and
15
to get in the
days.
newspaper, it was Thursday today at noon. And I had not asked about quorum. I know getting people here is
Yeah.
going to be,
Or if we would just wait till the next meeting?
right. I can have one of them come up and maybe answer that question for you.
Okay, let's do that first, so I know what we're dealing with.
Hello, I'm Greg Wycamp with Edgewater Resources. October start next year is fine, so.
Okay, so we can wait till the next meeting?
Yeah, our goal would be to start at the end of next season. We certainly don't want to close anything down during the summertime, and the October meeting timeframe is fine.
Okay, excellent. All right, so knowing that, does anybody have any questions about this project based on recommendations you have read?
There you go. Do you want Greg to give you a quick
Yeah,
synopsis?
yeah, go ahead. Give us another synopsis.
Perfect. So the main change in the plan really comes down to, this is the existing site. So you can see the existing Jensen docks here. All of those will come out, and they will be replaced by this. So those current docks stick way out here. We're actually taking those out and pulling them back. So when Kate said we're not making the river wider, we're making the navigable channel area in the river wider than it is today, because you have the current Jensen docks that stick out, and some of the boats actually project out past that. You've never seen that before. So this is now from out here, we're moving way back, so there's going to be a much narrower occupation of the water there. We actually had a conversation with Harbor Commission about actually putting a buoy out there with a specific mark so they can come out and go, look, clearly you're where you're supposed to be or not supposed to be. So that'll be there. You'll notice we changed. Previously, these piers went further out. This is the South Haven Harbor line. We're behind that harbor line and had the conversation. We'll comply with all the same rules and regulations everybody else has to. The Federal Navigation Channel is out here. We have no impacts on that at all. So that's really the only major changes to the plan.
Now, is this plan accurate with the longest dock? I think that's the one that's currently sitting there. Does that one get extended to that line as well?
No, that is the current location and current size of the dock. There's no change to that dock.
No change to that.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, just a question on the schematic here. I couldn't find it in the legend anywhere. What's the dotted line?
The blue one there?
Yeah.
That is a floodplain line. So you'll notice that the Padnos workshop is in the floodplain. All the rest are not. We have a proposed new building out here. That floodplain line is going to end up moving because we're going to fill for that building. Of course, the new building will be up and out of that. That's all part of the Eagle and Corps of Engineers permits, and they have jurisdiction over all of that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, question?
Yeah.
This site plan I looked at, I've just started today. The site plan, I'm looking for the property lines, the limits of the property line. The last time, it's been a few years since I've looked at the Maritime Museum's
Sure.
site.
Sure.
Does it include everything except for Captain Lou's now?
Yeah, well, so there's two parts to the property. There's the city-owned portion that the Maritime Museum entered into a new lease in, December? Early. Yeah, recently, and that's like 100, it's like forever. It's a very long lease. And that property is generally this area here, up to here, and roughly about, Patty and Brian, correct me if I'm, doesn't include the parking, comes to here, and then I think it stops here currently. Yeah. Yes, and around the Padmas. The Jensen property is all of this, which goes right up to Captain Lou's, and all of that is being acquired and purchased by the Maritime Museum. So it will be, their operations will exist either on the leased property from the city or on the Jensen property which they're purchasing.
Good, happy to hear that.
Is the parking leased also, the front parking, is that also leased from the city?
How does that work?
I don't believe so.
It's addressed in the lease. Right. But it's not part of it.
Right, it's addressed in the lease, but it's not. Sorry, it's addressed in the lease, but. It's not private parking for just the museum. Right, it's not private parking for just the museum.
So anyone can park there, is that
Yes.
what I'm hearing? Okay.
So we were asked 3 primary points, 2 from Harbor Commission, 1 from you specifically on was the docks, which we've adjusted, and they're fine with that, and we spent quite a bit of time discussing that. The other was, there was a question about dredging. We've written a memo, basically, there was something historic I didn't know about, some issue with dredging in the past. We've committed at the Maritime Museum that they're responsible for the dredging if and when that occurs. And the third one was your question on the parking, and we're absolutely committed to an off-site parking solution. There's clearly no way you're going to solve that parking on this site, nor would you want to in your downtown. So as part of the lease agreements or the rental agreements, they're going to be required to utilize this parking. We've got secured a number of potential sites for parking, but we're 2 years away from it, so nobody's going to sign a lease with us 2 years out in advance. But we certainly committed that is. It's an obvious thing. We need to do that for the function of our facility and, of course, for the parking requirements. So we've written a memo to that effect as well. So not sure what else we can do at this stage. We're 2 years away from solving it, but quite comfortable that that shouldn't be a problem. And it will be a requirement of the rental agreement to use it. So.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the goal towards the parking plan. I'm wondering over time, though, if we want to have every agreement come before Planning Commission to approve a parking plan for them, or we can get to an overall blanket plan and then have at the staff level for the events. Because it looked like for each individual event that parking plan was supposed to come to planning, or did I read that incorrectly?
So what we were contemplating when we drafted the proposed conditions was that they would, once they get a lease or multiple leases in place, they would bring that to Planning Commission, and then the use of those leased sites would be approved by Planning Commission, and they could use them for any event that would come before them. If they ever needed to change where the parking was located, that change would have to come to Planning Commission.
Okay.
Just for a review of whether that parking, the new lot was sufficient.
I didn't want to hold up potential events because, we're not meeting this month, and then we just have to get together to approve.
Right. No, that's
I like
not
the museum. I would do what I want to do, but I won't be on council, so I'm afraid I won't be up here, so whatever you guys want to do.
Parking for the Gruber wedding. And
Yeah, exactly. Those could happen.
We'll get approval of the strategy.
I was trying to make it easier once we knew what was going on, because I knew the Maritime Museum, Liberty Hyde Bailey, and the Art Center, we have agreements for their events, and I just want to bring parity to those. So if we were to expand the number of events and what the Maritime Museum can do, because that's part of their plan, that we just want to look at parity with what the Art Center could do or Liberty Hyde Bailey could do, although they're different buildings and different venues for different reasons. It's just more of that parity which we finally got, which was awesome. I just wanted to make things easier. Okay, that was one of my big questions, was this just the parking plan?
And Mr. Chairman, if I might build on what Clark has said, it's my understanding we're going to talk about the special use permit in October. So the parking thing will really be part of that. But that was the stickler for me as well. I'd really, really like to see that hammered out before any special use permit is granted.
It gives us another 30 days for it all to boil around.
So we're not going to necessarily have the actual place in 30 days, but that's what you just asked, the strategy.
There are two, and again, it's not a big concern, but I certainly wanted to address. There are two concerns. One is the impact on the neighborhoods. And as I understand, we didn't get all the comments. We haven't had a chance to get all the comments from neighbors on this. Is that correct, Kate?
I haven't received any
Okay.
question or any comments from people.
So I'm just looking for a discussion that gives me a bit more comfort than don't worry about it, we'll have it covered. Because parking is the prime thing in this city right now.
I can speak to that a little bit, the way we've drafted the proposed conditions, because they are 2 years out. It is understandable in terms of securing a site. But the way the proposed condition is written, that they wouldn't be able to hold any events in the designated event spaces until that plan is in place. That's going to put significant pressure to get something before this board, and then anything is subject to approval. We've put some criteria that you'd be looking at in evaluating those plans. So it's almost like a two-step special use. The first step allowing them to start construction, but nothing's really final until they come back and get the plan approved.
Additionally, just to build on that, and it's not necessarily related to parking, but we did also put in the conditions, maybe some terms to put into the site plan or special land use approval about maybe alcohol service term ending or quiet hours beginning. Noise seems to be an issue that comes up frequently in this district. So this was something that was also kind of brought to our attention.
And would that be something we'd want to talk about now or maybe next month?
We can talk about it now and next month. It's up to the board. It'd probably be better next month as we're discussing it, but if there's something you want us to look into.
Well, your suggestion, I thought, or, the timeframe that was suggested in our packet, I thought was rather conservative. And I thought, more of an 11 o'clock cutoff with, for alcohol and a 12 o'clock release would be more appropriate for the kind of use that this is going to be used. So that's something that I was going to bring up. And the other thing I was just going to do is suggest that y'all head to the museum. They have a wonderful exhibit on this and with great visuals. And I'm a visual person. So rather than learning off this paper, you can actually go to the museum and see how this lays out. And has anybody done that yet? It's amazing what this is going to look like. And it was very helpful to me and for Patty's help to kind of show me what was going on. So it makes a little bit more sense.
With just a few elevations, but I was looking for that.
Piggybacking on what you just said, I have a curiosity question more than anything at this point, is what's the difference between the keeper's house and the lookout building, and what do they do? Because I saw them, the names were both on that building, and I was just curious.
Yeah. The building we're talking about is easier to see in this one here. It's this building out here. And it's a building that's actually designed to be reminiscent of a Coast Guard keeper's house that used to be on the channel. There's actually photos of it inside the museum if you'd like to see it. And it's meant to be an elevated space. It's a tower, yeah. Tower, sorry. Tower, yeah. It's a tower. So basically it's going to have restrooms and some small concession on the floor. Basically, the real goal is when the Friends Goodwill is trying to get their people herded, you want to be able to see the bathroom and the people and the boat all at once. So that's the bottom. And then the upper floor will be a kind of a meeting space. You could have a meeting like this up there kind of thing. It's meant to be an overlook and just looking right down the channel and that sort of thing. So if you've been on the upper deck of the little space where the Jensen Building kind of clubhouse is, the view is wonderful. And it's meant to just kind of recapture that. So.
And the whole discussion that we'll probably have next week has to do with residents and people coming back and forth. There was mention in here about a proposed crosswalk for pedestrians to come across the street. Was there any more further development in that discussion that you're aware of?
I've not proposed a crosswalk, but it would seem, certainly wouldn't. I think that's must be coming from the city. I mean, the place it would be, to me, would be at the intersection there, at the obvious places for safety at the
And
corners.
currently, we have a plan that every 30 minutes we stop the traffic there.
Yeah,
Seems
the
to
bridge.
work.
Yeah. I always hope the bridge will go back down.
Yeah,
when
well,
they're done. So, of course, we have boats. If it doesn't, we can. So.
To speak to that, Janice, I think on page 42, we went over the site plan review standards, and the zoning consultants mentioned that the applicant's proposing to keep the existing parking and layout for the ingress and egress of the facilities, and I guess they said that you have a new 10-foot ADA accessible sidewalk to facilitate circulation, but I'm thinking they're talking about the new promenade maybe that's coming off of,
So we have, so the whole edge condition here is cleaned up right now. What you have is a real, it's a little bit mixed up. So right now you've got the public docks, and then you've got the museum docks, and they merge right here at this corner, and that creates some conflicts because of membership and all those sorts of things. What we're proposing is to separate those, and so that's this walkway here. So the whole water's edge is going to be a completely ADA barrier-free connection. Everybody will be able to see all of that. And we've isolated completely from the city docks from ours, which should really resolve some conflicts on the public docks as well. So there is, of course, an ADA walkway along the edge of the parking, bringing people into the building, and the whole campus will be completely barrier-free.
I think what you might be referring to was the consultant's recommendation of access from the residents in the area. Probably an access across Black River Drive and an access, maybe two of them, I would vision two of them across Dykeman Avenue, one near the bridge and one down at the intersection.
So an actual crosswalk, like a mid-block crossing?
Yes.
I would defer to the city. The cities are often reluctant to do mid-block crossings because of safety issues. They usually want them by intersections, but we're...
With an open bridge, it's not much of a safety issue.
Absolutely.
No,
But I would defer to the city, whatever you
yeah,
want
I
to do
think
there.
that engineering would want to have a look at that. I do
Well,
know that we
that-
have already crosswalks at the Dykeman and Black Street.
And
Black
we
River
don't
Street.
have any report from the engineer at this
Yeah,
point, so.
no, yes, that's exactly right.
I-
And I believe at some point there would be a crosswalk from the east side of the bridge coming over, but I don't know if that's there. I don't believe that's there now. I'm trying to think of my
You mean
memory.
like across Captain Lou's entry there?
Yeah, if you go to the north side of the street, I thought there was already a crosswalk before the bridge, but I can't,
I don't think there is.
memory's failing me, but.
I don't have the aerial here.
Do you have, I'm trying to find a page number here. One of your drawings, you have a cross-section. I think it's a cross-section of the river, but it's labeled as approximate lake bed cross-section. Have you
Okay.
picked that up?
What page
Well-
is that, Larry?
That's what I'm trying to find. Oh, yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
22.
I don't know if I have it up here, so.
Page 22.
What's your
so.
question? Is that on here?
I think it's, if it is the one right after the colored picture.
Page 22.
22. No, it's
What's that one say up in the top right-hand corner?
It's
Two
two.
more.
Oh, I see it up there.
More, four more.
Approximate
20,
lake bed
21,
cross.
22. There we go.
There you go.
Oh, up the top. Got it. Yep,
That is a cross-section of the river, right?
correct.
Okay.
When we work with the Eagle, they typically call it lake bed. I don't know why. Bottom of the wet.
Confuses me.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't
I know
have-
the
we didn't
difference.
Have those elevations on there, too, I
Excellent,
guess,
yeah.
Between a lake and a river.
Depends on the water level, really. Where does the river stop? So-
Mr. Chairman, one more
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
This might have to do with your timeline as you're planning. When the Padnos building was built 20 years ago, there were soil borings that were required, and they were surprised, and they put the museum back, I think, 30 to 40 days, because there's, in some of the areas on the site, there was almost no bottom. And so we redesigned the foundation, and so just, it wasn't a lot of cost, but we had to redesign it. We had to get the longest commercial pilings available,
Yeah.
special permits to get them into the site, things like that. So-
Our expectation is there'll be a lot of piles. Typically, everything at the edge of a river is, we lovingly call it goose poo. It has no structural integrity at all, so we're counting on piles. Thank you.
Good.
But that's great that we have those borings, so that's helpful. And we need to do some more as we move into final design. So
All right, so with this plan design and the expectation there are events with large crowds, it's going to necessitate off-site parking because they can't build enough parking down there. So this plan shows that need, other than what he pointed out a little earlier, which was the dock configuration, which was a big concern with not just us, but especially the Harbor Commission. So we're going to have, if we can look at the site plan and approve it, I suppose contingent on the parking requirement being part of the next meeting with the special land use. Otherwise, I don't know how we could approve the plan without the special land use to go with it.
Right, I'd recommend waiting till next meeting. They're gonna need that approval anyway. It makes sense to package them together.
Right.
So,
Okay. So that was gonna be my question, how you wanted to look at this, was to wait or go at it one at a time, but it's kind of tough to do it without having the special land use first.
So would the best course of action be to table?
I think, yeah, table
No.
and keep the public hearing open.
The best course of action would be to postpone.
Right.
Table would mean we'd pick it
We
up
we have
later
to,
in the
we have to
meeting.
pick it up.
Postponing it would-
Okay.
would be for the next meeting.
Mr.
But they
Chairman,
could go a
I-
meeting after
I
that.
would recommend, Mr. Chairman, that we go ahead and open the public hearing. There may be people here who can't be here next month.
I'd agree. So
I'll second.
it's been moved and supported to open a public hearing on Maritime Museum, special land use and site plan. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak about this project? If so, come up to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes. There you go, Ed. We always like to hear from you.
Edward Reed, 151 Dunkley Avenue, and thank you for hearing my concerns. One being the floodplain and what they're going to do to alleviate the floodplain issues at that corner. I mean, currently, that area is totally underwater at some period, has been almost all summer. And secondly, would be the designation to eliminate the docks along the east side of Captain Lou's, and whether or not that's feasible, given the fact that a lot of those dock owners have been there a long time, and what they would do to relocate those people. Other than that,
Okay.
those are the only questions I have. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Ed. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain the closing motion of the public.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
We don't want to close the public hearing. We want to leave it open.
Is this
No,
public hearing on the
you
site
could-
plan?
You could move to postpone it then if you want to leave it open like that. That's one way to do it.
So-
Or we could reopen it at the next meeting.
We'll renotice it, so, for a public hearing,
Yeah.
either way. We'll have to for the special land use anyway, so.
So
I-
you can reopen it up then. Then it's not flapping around.
Right.
Okay.
I think that procedure is fine, given that this public hearing wasn't even noticed, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Right, it was
So-
published in the Herald Palladium, but it was not sent
Yeah.
300-foot notices to the adjacent properties, so.
So I think closing and opening a new one at the next meeting that's sufficient.
And I concur with Chairman's decision to help those that came tonight have an opportunity to speak.
Yeah. So we're going to move to close it with the intent to reopen it after notifications.
You got somebody else who wants to speak.
Don't close it yet.
Well, hang on a second. Hang on a second. So it's been moved to close it, right?
Correct.
You made the original motion.
No, I didn't.
No.
I made the original
Oh, you
closing.
did? Okay. Is it supported?
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on this? And at this time, I'll entertain 20 seconds. What did you want to say about this?
Sorry to interrupt. Brian Boscraft from the Michigan Maritime Museum. Our consultant, Greg Wykamp, was here this evening, and he is somewhat detained next month. So I was just going to mention if there's any other questions from the Planning Commission that might be in a technical nature that our very expensive consultant needs to cover, if we could maybe ask those tonight. In the next meeting, it'll just be Patty and I, so.
Well, he's been around here for a
Plenty
few
enough.
years now. I would expect there's got to be a little pro bono at some point.
Yeah, he's elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, and as a footnote, as he said, the consultant probably won't be here, so are there any questions, further questions you have at this moment in time? No. And I suppose if you think of some, forward them to Kate, and she will get answers prior to the next meeting. Okay? All right. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is 7, the driveway ordinance amendment. So we're going to review the access standards in section 1716 of the zoning ordinance. All right. Kate or Nick, who wants to synopsis this one?
Sure. Recently, there was a home on Monroe Boulevard that was seeking to put in a 20-foot wide driveway. Staff denied the request because the zoning ordinance states that it must be no larger than 16 feet at the right-of-way line. The homeowner then proceeded to seek a variance and was denied because the standards were not met. We have been asked to have the Planning Commission look at possibly making our driveway ordinance or access standards commensurate and comparative with other communities, as well as existing driveways in the areas. We have for you in the packet, the zoning consultants put together a memorandum comparing other local communities on the Lake Shore that do have some same standards as us and others that have more than us, as well as just kind of considering what you know from anecdotal evidence, how many driveways you see that are larger than 16 feet. So we've been asked to put this before you for your consideration, and if the board is considering making a change, we do have some options that have been put together by the zoning consultants, as well as myself and Nick are here as well.
Okay. Is anybody ready to make a motion on this, or do you need to ask some questions first?
I had a question.
Okay.
How many requests for variances have we had?
Actually, I've only had one. I do know that the city engineer has issued about 100 permits since he's been the city engineer, and he's always said that they had to be 16 feet. Now, that's for people who follow the rules and come and seek a permit. There's many times that people are going in and putting in driveways unbeknownst to us, and they're putting them in as wide as they'd like. So on that end, shame on the city for not following up on that. But I would say this is the only driveway variance that I've seen in the last 3 years of being in this position.
And the applicant and in that variance request actually found several driveways kind of nearby his property that were greater in width. So there are driveways, at least in that area, that exceed, but not necessarily have permits to exceed.
That weren't done legally.
Right.
What is the purpose for the wider driveway?
More space.
More space, I
More
believe. I
space.
think for the applicant himself, I think he wanted to have the 2 cars, the access for 2 cars garage. The zoning consultants did come up with a workaround, but the homeowner was very insistent that he be treated the same as all of his other neighbors who had 20-foot wide at the right-of-way line.
I think it's the quality I mean, we've got the flares that are 1.5 times the width, right, for turning. I mean, that could be another thing to think about, the turning capabilities, so we've got that. And I looked through some of the others. I mean, it's disheartening when people run out and do a project on their own and ask for forgiveness as opposed to permission. You know, I'm just hoping in the future what we do is then go to those homeowners and make them put back what they've taken out and go that process. And that's just tough to see, and I'm not sure which home on Monroe. There's been some really great houses on Monroe. One of them lately, I think, because I waited a long time for the curb cut to go in, and it finally did. And that person did a gorgeous job with the work that they did on that brick home. I don't know, when I look through that, it's hard for me to understand. I always seem to have bigger issues with the length of the driveways, because I have still seen some new ones where someone will park their car in their driveway right next to the garage, and they're still onto the sidewalk. And I'm a big proponent of make sure our sidewalks are open for access, but Chairman, I don't see a lot here. I don't see an over-driving reason yet to increase.
Okay. Anybody else right now?
I thought the recommendations from the folks that was included in the packet was very good. I mean, I understand what made most logical sense to me is the density in the neighborhoods and of the population in the neighborhoods should have an impact on the width of the driveways as well. It makes sense for 16-foot driveways in our highly dense neighborhoods, and it might make sense for 22 feet further out where the lots are less dense. So I liked option 2 and 3. I thought they were both good.
Okay, now that we've had some discussion, let's do a public hearing on this.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support?
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? State your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
Pat Gaston, 97 Superior. Actually, I was on the ZBA, and this was turned down. And at the time, because it really did not fill all the criteria for a variance that we needed. Honestly, it's a neighborhood I live in. I can't see going over 20 feet, but I can see making a recommendation for the 20 feet, just straight out. Maybe no flares at that point. You just go straight out. That's it. You're talking about flares on each side, so maybe you do something. But at the time, even on the Zoning Board of Appeals, I suggested that maybe this was the place to go and change the ordinance. I leave that up to you, but I can see the argument. I would say if you drive around that neighborhood, most people are over 16 feet. And it's really too bad, and it's shame on the city. I think she put it well. Shame on the city for allowing that many driveways to be over 16 feet and just never calling them to task on that point. And then all of a sudden, somebody really tries to do exactly, probably even less than 20, less than, many people are way over 20 feet. Tries to do less than that legally, and then, are kind of shut down. So I leave that up to you to decide, but I can see the argument for 20 feet. I think the gentleman at the time was talking about that's the size of, he's not like a garage, and then you have another parking space at the garage, and then another, and then even going further out than that. But I mean, he was talking just straight out of his garage, and I understand. The other thing I would like to bring up, and maybe you can address this sometime, I too have a huge problem with allowing garages to be built so close to the property line that you cannot park without going over the sidewalk. I don't know how you do that, but I mean, there's so much of that, and I am a big sidewalk fanatic as far as we have a walkable community, we have sidewalks, and then you allow new houses to be built that is not possible for them to park in front of their garage without going over the sidewalk. How you deal with that in the future on plans and setbacks, I don't know, but it is a big problem and done all the time, and everybody goes, oh, well, there's nothing against that. I would suggest you find some way to change that. So anyway, just wanted to give you kind of my feedback on the 20-foot.
I thought you were going to tell me real wide driveways so barbecuing could happen.
Oh, there's that.
We're fixing that.
Their driveway, but not on the street.
We're fixing that one.
All right, please come up.
My name is Dave James. I'm the applicant. And I live at 759 Monroe Boulevard. And I don't know where to begin. I'm baffled, to be honest with you. I mean, shame on the city for allowing it, but just today, I saw at Kids Corner, the city poured a driveway that must be 30-foot wide. And on Pearl Street, they replaced driveways that were more than 20 feet wide. So it's not just the homeowners that are going behind the city's back. It's the city violating their own ordinance. I'm not a big fan of this consulting group that offers their recommendations. I find their analysis flawed in so many respects. But to get to the bottom line, I think a reasonable compromise is to make the right-of-way maximum 20 feet and reduce the flare to maybe 2/10 of that. So the flare would be the same, 24 feet. The right-of-way would be 20 feet. There'd be no issue with restricted street parking, and it solves the problem. But I came to find out when I looked at those drawings for the Maritime Museum that my architect is the same architect that drew the site plan for the Maritime Museum. And she drew my construction plans to have a 20-foot driveway. I mean, it's practical, it's reasonable, it's professional. And for the life of me, I can't understand why the city would consider a status quo here. It's not practical. See if I have any other notes here. The bottom line is, for me, an ordinance that's not enforced, and the city has certainly not enforced this ordinance, it's not an ordinance. And if you're going to amend this ordinance and make an ordinance, it ought to be enforced for everybody. And I had more than a few examples when I went to the appeals board. There are hundreds of examples. You could walk down any street in this city and find a driveway that's more than 16 foot wide at the right-of-way. So the precedent's already been established as far as I'm concerned. I hope you agree.
Could you explain to me one more time, sir? Okay, so with the flares, what you're suggesting, my concern was having enough space on the streets for parking, because parking is at a premium, right?
Okay, yep.
So I was worried that having a wider driveway would impede parking. So what you're saying is you're not necessarily
Right now, it's
reducing the parking with the flares. Explain that to me again. what you
right
just
now,
said.
the flare is not more than 1.5 times
One
the
and a
width
half.
of the driveway at the right-of-way. So if it's 16 feet today,
Uh-huh,
the flare can be 24,
okay,
okay? If you set the maximum right-of-way at 20
Right.
and say the flare can only be 1.2 times that, it's still 24
looking the same
foot.
space.
It's still 24 foot at the curb.
At the curb.
And in my case, I don't even have a sidewalk.
Right.
My
And-
driveway comes straight out to the street.
And you wanted the 20 feet because,
It's standard.
I know, but not only because it's standard,
Well,
but why did you
it's
want?
safer too. You're asking people to funnel out of their driveway onto a busy street. I mean, it's hard enough backing straight out onto a busy street rather than serpentine out to a busy street.
Having a little bit more space.
Yeah, I mean, they're correct. The standard driveway is 20 to 24 foot wide.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
And I just have to say too, your renovation on that house is phenomenal.
well,
I know your house, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, we went to a lot of effort, and, we didn't draw these plans ourselves.
Yeah.
We
It's
had
beautiful.
architects do it,
It's beautiful.
so, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to close public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Two things I want to bring up is, one, we don't know if some of the sidewalks that are beyond the 16-foot, if they did get a variance. So I wouldn't necessarily say all of them are non-complying until that would be looked at. And then I also think when, what's a standard, a lot of new neighborhoods that previously didn't have a dwelling on them, maybe those are common 20, but we're looking at, older neighborhoods where these have been established for quite a while. So the options you have in front of you are to either not take this up or to look at amending it.
I guess just one more comment. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that it's back at the Planning Commission, because the argument I just heard is a very strong argument that should have been considered. I mean, his architect drew it at 20. It's like, I don't know why the variance was not allowed at the ZBA. And punting it back to us, I think is irresponsible, because now we have to look at it citywide.
Mr. Chairman? Since I represent this board on the Zoning Board of Appeals, I think I can answer that question. There are certain standards that have to be met in the Zoning Board of Appeals, and one of them, does it meet the zoning ordinance? And it did not. And that
Understood, Larry.
every one of the listed items in the ordinance that the Zoning Board of Appeals has to consider, each one has to be met, and that's one that did not. Another observation that I have here is that as far as 20 being the standard, it's not the standard in Grand Haven. It's not the standard in Traverse City. It's not the standard in Petoskey. Those are the lakeside cities that we normally look at to make a comparison with South Haven. There's not a sidewalk that goes past this gentleman's house, but we certainly have a pattern here in South Haven of creating sidewalks where they're necessary, and if we have a chance to do that along this street, I think that we probably would be doing it. So I don't think the fact that it isn't there now is something we should throw away. And certainly one of the reasons for having a limitation on the width of the driveway is safety of pedestrians.
Oh, absolutely.
And if I could just counter that for a second, St. Joe does have the 22 feet, and that's closest to us. The other thing I wonder, and this just kind of came to me, is that I wonder if the 16 feet in the day was created when there was only one car to a house, when the cars were smaller. Now we've got these monster cars, but, I also think, and I think this does warrant just one more look before we take action with our chairman suggesting that, maybe there were variances given to these. I'm going to go home and measure my own driveway. I think that's a fair argument. And with the architect suggesting that that's a 20-foot, kind of norm, I think that I would not be comfortable making a decision tonight.
Well, and let me readdress what I said, because, Larry, I certainly did not mean to cast any aspersions towards the other committee. It just seems that we're being placed in a situation. I can't deny the logic of the petitioner. I mean, makes good sense. I mean, the fact that we've let it happen, and again, I agree with Tim, and perhaps there were proper variances. It all makes sense. What bothers me is the decision we make will now establish a new standard in the city, correct? And I happen to agree that 16 feet is just fine for densely populated neighborhoods. Kids in my neighborhood, I mean, not everybody lives on Monroe Boulevard. So I think we need to take the standard that best serves the residents of our neighborhood, not any particular part of our neighborhoods. And That's the part that bothers me. I would hate to see a new ordinance with 20 feet as the new standard.
Anybody else? Or I'll entertain a motion of some
Yeah,
sort.
I'd just like to make a comment. We just replaced our driveway. It's at least 20 feet wide. Was originally put in 1952. So I think it would be considered a non-conforming, pre-existing, deal, not a new construction. I think it has to do with that the ZBA should be able to look at the situation. Our driveways, our garage is 26 feet wide, but it's the old-fashioned, it's got a post in the middle. So lining up to it, our driveway's only 24 feet from the curb to the garage door. So lining up for it, if it wasn't that wide, you'd have to jockey back and forth to get lined up to go into. So I think that there should be some flexibility within the ordinance, so that the ZBA has the ability to look at the picture, the big picture. You'll look at Traverse Cities, and it says that it has to be 8 feet, and then the width is 16 feet on all streets. 8 feet, you can just, if you have two cars on two 8-foot spots, you have trouble getting the doors open. So I wish we could provide flexibility within the ordinance. I don't want to see 20 or 22 become the new standard, but I think you should be able to look at the site, or the ZBA should be able to look at the site and have some flexibility, and I'm not sure how that's done.
I think option 3 is the option that has the flexibility in it.
I think you're right.
What is option 3? I forget.
I believe option 3 was to go district by district.
Yes,
Is that-
okay. Well, let me ask you this. Is this something everyone on this board needs more time to contemplate? Not quite ready to move forward on it?
Well, being the talkative one tonight, I agree with Larry. Option 3 does consider the variability in the neighborhoods. Certainly in my neighborhood, a 20-foot driveway is just crazy. Our lots aren't that big. So I could support option 3.
And like what Todd was discussing, and that's where I was kind of leaning, was the option 2. That's where you use the zoning board. But anyway, I need someone, I can't make a motion, so if somebody feels real strongly, we can make a motion and discuss that one and vote.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can we refer things to the building department? I mean, honestly, I haven't read this part of the ordinance. Do we refer things to the building department or a zoning administrator or something to, obviously, there's been a lot of good work done here that gives us a flavor, but, look around your neighborhoods and see. Again, in my own case,
Yeah.
16 feet would be difficult to get in, turn in, and straighten out and get into the garage just because the driveway's so short.
I'm kind of hearing everybody wants to do some field work.
I would suggest if the commission is open to it, that perhaps we bring this back at the next meeting, but in the meantime, we have GIS take samplings of the different zoning districts. Of course, we have usually quite a jumbled mix of R1A, R1B. Now, if are we looking at just those two zones, or are we looking at including the denser zones, or just looking at all residential structures in non-commercial zones?
I would have to say the latter.
Okay.
I mean, we've got the R1, I think that's R1B there versus R1A. I was looking more at option 2, but there was a compelling argument. And if staff can bring additional data, then maybe we can come up with something that serves around, option 2 or 3, or gives zoning better leeway with regards to the layout of a property, and the uniqueness of that. I think having great, an ordinance that just makes it easy is easier for everybody involved. But he brings up some good points, and I think then staff would feel better, one of our current replacements going on and what have you, of getting a better understanding of what's happening. We'll do a better job. And I hate referring stuff off, but I think if we had better data, we'd feel good about the decision we make, because I don't want to have to keep making a decision like this every couple of years.
This is a big decision, actually. It affects something that's been going on a long time. And let me ask you, when our short-term rental inspector goes around, does he measure the driveway?
No, that's not what he's been tasked with, but he does
Right.
measure to make sure that there's enough parking.
Because I have a feeling a lot of these wider driveways have to deal with short-term rentals.
Wants to accommodate more.
Yeah. Okay, so let's entertain a motion to postpone this to the next meeting, and we'll put this under old business for our next agenda.
Just one quick question about the
Yeah.
data I'm going to collect. I can have Ryan take like a sampling in each zoning district, or would you like me to sample them out into wards? How do you have an idea about what you'd like to see?
I think a sampling,
Okay,
not each individual one,
okay.
get an idea.
Mr.
And then
Chairman.
I think the rest of this group over the next month, you're gonna walk around the neighborhoods with the tape measure and
Okay.
kind of just come up with your own hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, though, one last question either for Nick or Kate. Option 2 makes sense to me. It says it's the simplest solution but may result in additional variance request. However, that would not give any,
No.
that would not solve the gentleman's issue.
No, he-
He's already lost his,
No, he's prohibited from going to the ZBA for 1 year. Should he want to go back to the ZBA, he has 1 year from his decision.
And not only that, one of the variance standards is when you look at whether the property is unique, and I think that was something that really hinged on. His property is not really unique. It's just that every property is surrounded by properties where there's non-conforming ones. So that was a difficulty with the variance route. And I should also note that while you were talking, he walked up and handed me ordinance from the city of Holland. It's 20 feet. So I just wanted to get that in the record.
And let me ask you, on the non-conforming ones, unless they already had a special use or, special approval for that, could they be fined now?
If they were done recently, like within the last, I'm not sure what the statute of limitations would be, but not if they've been there for decades, no.
Okay,
Our department records probably don't go back to,
right.
like, say the original driveway for Mr. Heinrich, but we can see what we can find, but
Okay.
I think you could go back 6 years.
7,
I'm not
6.
positive about that.
I was thinking it was 7, but, okay. All right, so we kind of stalled out on this one, so like I said, I'll entertain a motion, and we'll put this on old business for the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to postpone this to the next meeting in
Okay.
October.
Is there support?
Second?
It's been moved and supported to postpone this item. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, so we'll look at this again. Don't forget to do your research. Next up, the sign ordinance amendment.
well, you wanted a challenge. So,
That was fun to read.
Elaine left, because when I was on city council, there was a lot of sign stuff then.
There was a lot of sign stuff.
Yeah. All right. So, we're going to discuss the proposed sign ordinance amendment, and we're going to have a public hearing. So, who wants to give us a little synopsis for this one?
I'll start. We initially brought this commission in May of 2018, some revisions to the sign ordinance that reflected a recent decision at that time to go to more content-based neutral signs, so which would effectively take out many different categories out of the sign ordinance. Additionally, I guess going back to that point, it kind of got stalled at that May meeting, and then we were also dealing with some other controversial and heavy lifting items, so that just never came back to the Planning Commission until now. And this is precipitated by, once again, trying to make sure that our sign ordinance is compliant with the content neutral sign regulations that came out of that Supreme Court decision, as well as we've been feeling a lot of different complaints and just difficulties with the sign ordinance when it deals with multi-tenant buildings in the CBD as well as in the B2. As you may know, we've had lots of buildings that have now been turned into multiple units out of one building. This is the recent Save-A-Lot's one of them. We had the carpet shop over there. There's multiple buildings or multiple different stores going on there, but the current sign regulation prohibits certain signage, so you as the consumer walking up to a building, you have to kind of rely on maybe some interior signage on a door or a window to kind of figure out where you're going. That lacks common sense. So working with the consultants as well as the city attorney, we've put together a first draft of some of these new regulations, and we're looking for input. We know this is a pretty much of a monster of an ordinance to go through. I don't know if you want to have Nick kind of walk through any of these particular regulations, or if there's things that you'd like to see more from us.
Okay. Any questions? This one seems pretty cut and dry to me, but maybe not to others.
I don't necessarily have a question, but the building is being turned into multiple units. I agree that each unit deserves to be able to put up their own signage, because if not, you don't know that business exists.
Right.
It said something about like 25 feet per sign.
I think that's the recommendation. We
And
also had, I think right now we do a percentage of the wall sign.
Okay.
And that's kind of been brought to my attention that we do have some measurements in here, but if we don't take the size of the wall, I guess it was told to me, or given to me, like if we went with the current, what's been proposed in here for, regardless of wall size, if you wanted to go see the Meyer, you probably couldn't even see the M from the road. So that's maybe something we do want to look at. Do we want to keep with I think it's 10%? Is that what we do for the current one for size of the wall? So you take in how wide is what is the dimension of the wall, and then go with a percentage to figure out what is the allowable sign. That's something that was just kind of flagged to me the other day, so.
No,
But
I
yes.
think my question was related, I believe it said there wasn't allowed one sign more than every 25 feet.
Yes, that's
And
in here.
Do we have buildings in town that have multiple units in it under 25 feet? Like, personally, if somebody like rented one of the second floors, which hopefully people will start doing again, when you got the second floor entrance, you'd have a 25-foot wide facade, but still need two signs so that people knew there was a second business.
I guess I'd have to look into that. Nick, are you going to look into that? You're not sure?
I'm not sure the answer to that
I'm not sure of
question.
that. I do know that something else had come up. We were looking at a sign going up possibly in the B4. There was a business out there going to be doing some corporate re-signing. And I believe in our old ordinance, it did not allow signage above the second floor. Well, I think for chain hotels or other, that's kind of a standard thing. There is already existing sign allowed in their second, but they're limited to the footprint they existing have, and you can't really expand it. So that's another concern that was brought up.
And is the definition of a wall any different than a wall, like a brick structure with glass in it, as a window? Is it one and the same?
I believe you measure, let's see if we have the definition here, but I believe you measure the face, even if it
Face.
has windows
Okay.
within it.
And the reason I ask that, let's say a building has multiple windows, and we don't see it around here as much, but I've seen it in some of my travels where maybe they have a small sign that actually has their business name, but at different times of the year, they paint their windows. And let's say there's 3 windows, and they paint all 3, I don't know if they could do that under this.
I can say that effectively what the department usually does is that if the window is painted from the inside, then it's not an outdoor sign.
Okay.
That's, if you want to say clever workaround, but it really is not an outdoor sign, even though it
All
can
right.
be visually seen, so.
I can live with that. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Clark.
Well, I had a couple different ones at different areas, so I don't know if we want to handle each one of these separately or.
Bring them out.
Yeah, bring them out. Well, I said some really good stuff. I just mostly clarification. And that is, I think one of the areas I think we have in there where we're doing maybe exempt signs. Does this ordinance prevent people from placing garage sale signs on other properties? Not on their own?
That's in city code.
Good question.
Is it?
That's in the city code. Isn't that what Dan enforces?
So, I'm not, I think under this ordinance, I'm not sure if there's a city code provision. I believe under this ordinance, you could place a sign like that on another person's property with their permission. It would account towards that other property owner's for sign allotment.
For sign allotment.
So I should maybe explain this a little bit. The goal of this ordinance in terms of the stripping out the content neutrality is to the best we can replicate what the current regulations are, but to do it in a way that doesn't hone in on what the language on the sign. And the way that we've tried to accomplish that is through this for sign allotment concept. That basically is to cover any type of, we call them non-permanent signs. It would be for your garage sale signs, your real estate signs, your political signs. They would all become one category with one set of regulations, and you could use that any way you want. The idea with for being if your house was for sale and you wanted to support 3 political candidates, you'd be able to do that. And that number could be higher if you felt it was appropriate. It can't probably be lower. There's been some court cases about you can't constrain, the ability to speak politically through signs too much. So we thought that 4 was an appropriate number. But that's a little bit of a tangent. As long as you have permission from the property owner, you could place that on another person's property as part of their for sign allotment. You can't place signs in the right of way, and that's often a big issue with garage sales, is that they're on the right of way rather than a non-private property.
And I noticed that, which was an awesome, what we put in there, and that was directional signs, house signs, garage sale signs. They're pretty much, see them every Friday through Sunday. And I don't think there's anything we can do, because by the time our code enforcement officer comes, the signs are gone. But they're typically everywhere. And I know that the city, without written or other notice to the owner of the property, can remove that sign. The city can remove that sign.
So that's another actual suggestion that we have in this ordinance, is to provide a little bit more due process for the removal of signs, to where we don't have code enforcement officer just going and kind of yanking them out of the yard, because that can cause legal problems as well. So it would be more of like a citation and hearing process than just a code officer going by and removing.
Okay. So that's how that is. And I'm just looking at there, because I guess if you did it every Friday to Sunday and you went through the process, you could probably get away with doing that an entire summer.
Well, yes, you can't. Yes.
Okay.
And that's just a consequence of the Supreme Court case. You can't single out garage sale signs and say they can only be for
Or
X number
open
of
house
times.
signs to your building project that has been there, all summer long in Monroe Park. Okay. Then the other section, pancake breakfast signs, those are still going to be allowed. And I think of like some of the churches have those, the signs that are hauled behind like a small truck. And they put them up for the weekend for a fundraiser. They may not be part of an approval process of a festival. But when I look at places like, the Legion may have one out, or they may put one out at the Catholic Church for a weekend. Does this allow or prevent that to continue happening? Because those are really temporary and,
Right. So all properties have an allotment. Section 2007, subsection 2 is the allowance for non-residential lots.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's actually some blanks here that we're looking for recommendations from the consultant before our next meeting. But up to 32 square feet for a non-permanent sign. So you would use that allotment.
So up to 32 feet. So that's in the non-residential area. So
I think it's tied to use. So even if a church is in a residential zone, for example, it's not a residential use, so it would have that 32 square foot allotment as opposed to it's obviously more restrictive for actual
allowance for
housing.
non-residential lots. So there would be nothing that would prevent a business owner from putting up a 32-foot political sign
Correct.
for a candidate that they couldn't necessarily do before, but we're looking at that potentially now.
Yes.
But a resident couldn't put up a 32-foot sign.
Correct.
Okay. And I only allowed that because I know we can't do the content. And that's what came out of that Supreme Court case. There's some good stuff on the internet that really boil that down, which makes it really helpful because they have examples, which is good with that. Now, when it comes to the signs, as a homeowner, can I have up to 4 signs? One small sign that says landscaper, one sign that says the person who just did my roof, the person who just, did the sidewalk for me, and another one that, is currently just got new Anderson windows. Can I have 4 of those in my property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but that would be your allotment.
That would be my
You'd
allotment.
be advertising all your contractors and not supporting political.
And how long could I keep those up?
That's another thing that comes out of the Supreme Court case. You can't really set.
Well, we can do TPM, which is.
Well, yes, but you can't tie it to, so you could say any sign can only be up for X period of time, but can't really do that because real estate signs need to be up as long as the sale is pending. So this for sign allotment, you just can keep them up as long as you want.
And I think that's the cleanup we're doing, is because people have thoughts of what they always thought could be done, but now we've got to really think about, because of this case, which was only 2016 or something like that, of what we can and can't do. Okay.
Right. So the case really does hamstring the ability to do some types of things that municipalities have historically liked to do. But we've tried to do the best we can to keep as many of those handles in the ordinance as possible without running afoul of that ordinance. And implementation of this has been a little bit slow across municipalities because it's just so different than, every sign ordinance violated that case in 100 different ways. And municipalities have struggled to come into compliance with it. We're here 3 years out, but the cases keep coming, and it really is something that needs to be done, or it makes your sign ordinance difficult to enforce. So courts will throw out, citations and that type of thing. So
Okay. And the last other question I had has to do with the sandwich board signs. Or it may not be my last question. I don't know how many other notes I have down here. So I see those on Phoenix Street sometimes for a business that's not on Phoenix. So I think a new sandwich board sign would say it's got to be 3 feet in front of your business, so you can't have it at a different business. But if someone was in violation of that, it could take months to have that removed in the summer, potentially.
you're talking about in terms of the process?
Like if I wanted to plop a sign in front of, Clementine's for my business down at the end of Center Street that says, here's my business, come on down, I'm open.
Well, that actually brings up a good point. We're about ready to do the Center Street reconstruction. So the people that are in Center Street, what if they wanted to put a sandwich board on Phoenix to direct people to their business because they won't have any parking in front of it?
That might be a good temporary one, too. I'm just bringing
no,
all that
that's-
temporary
that's
stuff because
exactly what I'm
I really
saying.
think, and I've
Non-permanent.
seen cities that have had at corners, just small little signs, and they made it pretty uniform that, hey, we've got some other businesses down this street or down that street, whether it was done in conjunction with, a downtown organization or the chamber. I'm just thinking about some of the things that people have brought to our attention. I'm not a big proponent of a whole bunch of sandwich signs out that are for other businesses somewhere else, but I do feel for them knowing that, hey, there is something down the corner. And the Center Street thing may be a special something the council could do to help those out during that construction phase.
Right, I would think of either, I know we have a government sign in here, we would be placing, these businesses are still open as part of a construction project, that's one thing I would think of, versus an off-premises commercial message, I guess I wouldn't necessarily want to call it that, even though that's what it is, but they're closed because of a government action of rebuilding the road. So I guess I would be trying to find the best way to show that these businesses are still open.
Yeah, the city can definitely place those signs, and Grand Rapids does a great job of that. Whenever they have construction, they always print, with the business names on it, on official Grand Rapids signs. In terms of the sandwich board, I'm actually not seeing that these are limited to on-premises messages. We can do that. That is something that the case law allows you to do. Is that a type of restriction you would like? Would you like the sandwich board to be limited to the parcel that it's on, or would you be okay with having a sandwich board advertising a business down the street?
Well, it says one per lot or parcel.
It does say one per lot.
But it doesn't restrict it
doesn't
to
say
a
on
particular
premises.
business. So some business could say, hey, Sally, do you mind if I put a sandwich board in front of your business, but mine's 2 blocks away?
Yeah. Would you be okay with them doing that? I mean, we can write the code in a way that would not be allowed. It's not currently written that way. I think that would currently be permitted.
I think it's awesome when businesses have the sandwich boards. I have no problem with, some of them have great sayings, it's something witty, get you in the door, something special that's happening that day, as long as I can get around them and they're not plopped in the middle of
Yeah, and if you only allow one.
sidewalk.
one
And
per
we only
lot,
allow one,
that-
but I think it
I
would be
would think
great
that
if it
kinda
was
covers
for
it.
that business, not for another business. I don't know, can we regulate it that way?
You
I
can.
actually am reverse of that. I'm personally right now looking to open a business either down on Center Street or back on Eagle or over on Quaker, because I want to be a little bit further away from the heavy traffic. But if I have a friend's business that's on one of those that would let me borrow their sandwich board area, if they aren't using it, to just say, hey, there actually is one more business around the corner, that would help me out. So when I look at it that way, if it's just one per property, it doesn't matter if it's me or me saying, hey, my friend's place down the street, it's pretty cool, you should go check it out. It's still just one signage.
Yeah, but one's for the business that's there, one's for another business, and that's just something I just my opinion, just my opinion is, no, I'd rather
For example,
have
though,
it
right
for
now,
that.
The surf shop is advertising, they opened a second business on Center Street, so they've been like, hey, check out our sister's place, our sister store.
So it's their business. That's one that we can't regulate their content for their business. It's just their content for another business or advertising the other business. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I hadn't noticed that but I would think it would be best for that business to have their own sandwich board as opposed to somebody else, because then I just look at it as someone else's sandwich board, not in front of their property. Actually utilizing the public right away in front of another property.
But as long as you've only got one sandwich board there,
Yeah.
you're not going to trip over it.
It's
Because you're expecting one there
helping out a
anyway.
neighbor.
Yeah, but I would expect one there for that business, not for somebody else's business. That's all. It's like renting space for a sign.
It's just your expectation then, it's not a problem.
All right,
Just my opinion.
very good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was thinking, somebody mentioned Clementine's. And Clementine's has probably 150 feet of frontage on the two streets that exists on. And, having one sign here and if there could be some sort of calculation, I bet you something like that's already out there. in somebody else's more urban ordinance to look at, that you could have one on each frontage of 50 feet or something like that. And if you asked for permission from the Ruperts to use one of their 50-foot allotments or something like that, one sign every 50 feet. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, and thinking out loud, you have to ask yourself why you start to see more and more of these sandwich signs. And I could only say that after looking at old pictures of South Haven, you knew where the businesses were because they painted the sides of the walls and the roof shingles, and I mean, there was
Your windows.
tons of advertising. And as we've gone on, the expectation of making these ordinances has been to reduce the square footage by big magnitudes. And then also you have the development of the downtown with trees. Well, the trees are now full-grown, and they hide a lot of the buildings. So that's about the only option, is to go to these movable signs.
Projecting signs or sandwich boards, yes.
Yeah. So that's why you're seeing more and more of them, in my opinion.
I did appreciate Clark's comments too, and I hope what's not lost in that was talking about maybe even considering as a city, are there ways to establish some signage on poles, whatever? I mean, Grand Rapids does. When you're walking down a block, it tells you what's down that block, it tells you what's down that block. And maybe there's a way we can do it uniformly and within the character of the architecture of downtown.
And then throwing in, according to this ordinance, they have to be removed overnight, which I don't think they necessarily always are. And then you throw in the festival signs and the music signs. So you've got that. But can I move away from the sandwich board signs for a second? And I'm moving on to page 70. And just for fun, the signs permitted in residential, where it says, 1 per lot and 2 square foot maximum, and attached anywhere in the front or 8 feet from the wall. Is there any way we could look at removing the 8 feet from the front wall and just having them flush with the building? Would everybody freak out in a residential? What I'm talking about are the rental signs. I know that there's been some movement in talking to our realtors and our realtors that do short terms, and there's been a lot of good progress made with moving those signs flush to the buildings to restore the character of our neighborhoods. So it doesn't look boom, 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 that everything's for rent. And that does add to the restoration kind of our neighborhoods. Would that be like totally crazy to try to put that into an ordinance without a whole lot of trouble?
What is the suggestion? I'm sorry, I had trouble following.
Sure.
You at the beginning.
It's just under, in the section 2008, number 1, the signs permitted, wall signs for residents with 6 or fewer units. And I don't know if that's where it belongs, but it's, attached anywhere in the front. I'm talking about for rent, rental,
So you're suggesting the 8-foot be changed to something else?
just eliminated,
Eliminated.
that it would just be flush with the house.
Attached anywhere on the front structure below the second floor level of the front wall of the structure.
Right. And we've got agreements with a couple of the folks, a couple of the big rentals right now that are moving it away from the front yard, which is wonderful. But that would also mean, some of the folks that are independent or that are doing it through, vacation by owners, VBO and stuff like that. It makes a big difference in a neighborhood to not see those signs, believe it or not, even though they are empty, in the winter. I don't know, that's up to the chairman.
We have to open a public hearing. I was just letting the commission
Yeah.
talk to give whoever wants to speak some extra information to key on.
But anyways, that's what I had kind of going through this. I kind of circled that as an opportunity to consider as we move forward in our attempt to balance our community. That's all.
Well, if we eventually get a motion and it doesn't include something like that, then it'd be your job to make an amendment to that motion to include it, okay?
Okay.
A couple comments on this. First off, this specific provision is talking about wall signs, which would be a sign attached to the wall. So I don't know what that within 8 feet even means. You're talking about like yard
Yeah.
signs, like freestanding signs within the
Right.
yard. So that's going to be difficult to regulate because you are specifically talking about for rental ones. We can't really distinguish those from other types of signs, like a for sale sign, for example.
Why not?
Because that's a content-based restriction, and that's what we're trying to cut out because of the Supreme Court case. You can't treat short-term rental signs differently than like for sale signs, which means that those basically do have to be allowed to be put within the yards, as long as they meet the dimensional requirements that you expect of all other signs. You can certainly encourage the major rental operators to push them back. It sounds like that's being done already, but in terms of requirements, not really something we can do. And I think that this 8 feet, I think that's just a typo. I don't understand what that means. That's something we should look
I was
Especially
going
on
to
the
ask
wall
you if
signs.
it's because the front wall maybe has angles to it.
That could be. That's the only thing I can think of, if it's like talking about a multi-faceted front wall.
I just saw that as an opportunity.
I don't think it means 8 feet away from the wall.
Mhm.
It just means 8 feet along the wall.
Okay.
That would be my discussion
I
about
think that's
that.
probably right. It's not.
Because it's a wall, it's under the wall sign section.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so unless anybody has any other discussion at this
I
time.
have a height
Okay.
question for downtown in that area. We have some decorative flags that hang rather low. Is there and it's in the view of people who are walking.
The open signs in the face?
Yeah, those. Are
Open
there any
signs,
restrictions to that, or?
Yes and no. There is a portion of the downtown sidewalk that must remain open. I believe it's 5 feet. Now, that 5 feet could be next to the building, or the 5 feet could be next to the road. Now, it's a little hard to have it next to the road when we've put trash cans, trees, and benches. So then it's kind of, then it should be, so then their allotment should be next to their business. Now, I have seen some creep. I did just recently go on some economic development site retention visits. And yes, walking in the downtown, you are basically doing Dutch dive and dip, duck.
Unless you're 5 feet short, tall.
Yes, unless you're 5 feet tall. Dogs have no problem, but for the rest of us, there is some issues going on there. I think at our next meeting, I can tell you what those requirements are and get that for you.
It's the market atmosphere.
Right. They are allowed to display goods. Now, how much of that can they pass into the public walkway or the walkway that's been established? I can bring that forward.
All right, anything else? There'll be more opportunity. I just want to open the public hearing so we can have public comment, and then we can go back at it. Don't be shy. Somebody give me a motion for a public hearing.
I move we open the public hearing on the sign ordinance.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to open public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anybody who wishes to speak on this item? Name, address, 5 minutes.
Yes, on 97 Superior Street. I was just trying to give you some information, and Rosalie already brought up. The weekly rental signs in my neighborhood are plentiful. And I personally, after I got done with the grilling on the street thing, had extra time. So I contacted one of the large rental realty places in town, and as nicely as possible, asked if they could take those signs and place them up against the house rather than right in the middle of the lawn. One large realtor company already had done that and put them up against a sign, and I asked them if they could do that, just to make our neighborhood just look a little more pleasant than 5 big real estate rentals going down the street. And nicely, you probably can't regulate, just like you can't regulate, they, in the end, said, yes, we can do that. We can take those signs and place them up parallel to the house, close to the house. And so you do, I mean, I kind of used the rationale that we're a community, you love your community, you want to be liked in your community, this would be a nice thing to do for your community, and they did do that. So I don't know how this really relates to your sign ordinance, but I'm saying sometimes, and I told them I know they weren't doing anything illegal, they were fine, they could do that, but just in a neighborly sense that they would maybe change that, and they did. Now, it still leaves a lot of other places that haven't, and it still leaves a lot of other things in that. But that is very disruptive to a neighborhood, to have 3 or 4 signs on any given block for weekly rentals. So thankfully, one of our real estate companies did do that, and one already had done that. So that was just for your information, that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Anybody else from the audience wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. So we've had quite a bit of discussion here. I don't know if anybody's ready to make a motion. Because I'd rather we have something to specifically talk about before we do any further discussion. So normally before we do any discussion at all, normally I'd like to just have a motion so we know exactly what we're talking about, but we've kind of had tonight, the open discussion, just kind of bantering things about, because I know these are kind of complicated. But now we need to really know exactly what we're going to discuss. And that way you can debate, if it's necessary. And knowing, usually we get out when it's light. I know summer's at an end, it's turned dark outside.
I would note that I believe the staff report says we probably would take at least 2 meetings on this, because didn't we get some input from, like, written input after the agenda packet came out?
We did from GIS, who does quite a bit of our sign permits. And it sounds like there's a lot of questions, so I guess here's a proposition to the board is perhaps we digest this for the next meeting, but perhaps we can also bring some examples of current signage in town and see if it works with this ordinance, or if it does not. If it doesn't work, do we want that? And if it does work, do we want that, et cetera, et cetera. That way we're actually kind of looking at real world examples on what we currently have. That's an idea.
Well, in your estimation, these suggested amendments, they open it up a little bit more, don't they? It's not quite as restrictive, and it just simplifies a lot of it.
I think they open it up more. I do want to look at the restrictions for square feet on larger building walls.
Okay.
I also would like to look at, if you do have businesses on the second floor, where would they put their signage if they are stacked above? Because you can't then, because we have it in here, you can't put your signage above a second floor window. You can't put it above a second floor. So where would that person put a signage if it can be only one 25-foot sign or one sign per 25-foot per wall?
Mm-hmm.
That may never happen, but it sounds like it could happen. So I don't want to get something we already have to look for a variance for. So I guess I want to look at more of some of these actual day-to-day signs, also, I think I want to maybe have some examples of what some of these signs would be, to tell you what a non-residential use sign is, or a non-permanent sign, reader board, electric sign board, what we kind of envision those to be, or maybe what you think they are.
Okay. It's up to you guys. I just run the meeting. What do you want to do?
Kate, while you're at that, did it say in here particularly that a sandwich board sign was one per building or one per business?
Oh, what sign?
The sandwich board signs, were they one per building or one per business?
When I looked at the sign ordinance, I believe it just says one lot or parcel.
I think that's right.
And sandwich board signs shall be allowed in the CBD, B1, B2, B3, B4, PB1, 1A, I'm sorry, I1, 1B, 1, 2. It has, shall be removed overnight, after business hours, shall be anchored within 3 feet of the building or at curb, shall not obstruct pedestrian traffic, 4-foot maximum for height. But it does not say it must be for the business there.
No,
It just
but
says one per
one
parcel.
per lot or parcel, if we have, like we were talking about earlier, buildings that are now getting divided into smaller units, then which business would get that sign per the lot?
Just have to be worked out by the building owner
Yeah.
as part of the lease or something.
I mean, I can see that being an issue.
Okay.
Or if a business was 2 parcels as on the plot record, but now it's one business, do they get 2? And how do we figure that out? That might be a little more difficult, going, well, I get to have 2 because I'm actually 2 parcels that have been melded together. And it's in a case in point, it's no longer a business. McDonald Drug Store is actually 2 parcels on the top and 1 parcel on the bottom. Because it got merged together when there was a fire back in the 50s or 60s. I wasn't around. But you're right. Getting it cleaner with that would be good. Plus, I think we need to come up with some numbers for Section 2007, 2, if we want to allow the non-residential lots with some of those signs, X number of signs displayed per year, if that's something we want to bring up as well. So
Right.
that and the examples, I think it's a great idea that we had this huge discussion now, and I think it'll make, when we do make a decision, if we want to postpone this next time, easier. And we've really talked through it,
We're gonna
because
be postponing
this
it.
does make it
We got a little work to do in
easier.
October.
Yeah, we'll postpone everything.
One question about the sandwich boards. Would this board consider then doing one sandwich board per business, regardless of how many businesses there are in a building?
I would think that's
Yeah,
fair.
But we have to remember, we have pedestrians walking up and down the street, and now we have, we've done a beautiful streetscape, we have our benches, we have our flags that are coming down, and we have sandwich boards. And I know when my family comes into town, we sort of travel as a group because we have little kids, but sometimes it gets a little difficult because it seems like that street is getting narrower and narrower. So I think we have to be aware. I think sandwich boards are good, but I do think, we don't want to clutter, because then pretty soon they're not meaningful anymore. You just have sign after sign after sign.
Well,
It is, like I said earlier, though, we have all these mature trees that block signage, and plus, I believe we have square footage restrictions in place for how big these signs can be on these buildings. And like I said, I think this is what a lot of the business owners are having to turn to in order to advertise their business, is put these sandwich boards out, otherwise you don't know they're there. And why we were talking about maybe doing, like, I'll just call it an information kiosk, but it's not really that, it's a business directory. That might be a necessary step the city has to take in order to be able to maintain that minimal advertising aspect that has been promoted.
Well, I like having them just 3 feet from the building, because literally 2 of them on the way here tonight were smack dab in the center of the sidewalk, which makes it really tough, just one side or the other.
Because I'm not a minimalist. I just put up the signs. I'm good with that. I mean, look at those 2 guys that go around in a van on TV. That's all they buy are signs, or selling their old signage. But anyway, all right. So I guess what we're looking at is another motion. I don't like doing that because we're not accomplishing anything. But a motion to postpone and just some of the direction that staff needs to follow in order to have the information you need for the next meeting.
I'd be happy to offer it, but I'm having trouble coming up with the right words for it. So the motion is to postpone any decisions on the sign?
Well, the motion to postpone the ordinance amendment and awaiting whatever information you want from staff, or something along those lines.
Further
Be creative.
research,
Yeah, there's a staff
examples.
recommendation there that you could just put in your own words.
I can't read it, though.
Oh, okay. It's on page 53.
Everybody's making a lot of homework for the next meeting.
There is a lot.
We haven't got to the next item yet either.
Again, I'll make the proposal. I'm probably not, you'll have to correct my words, but yes,
The second part of the recommendation, what you had.
that's just what I'm going to read. I make a motion that we accept the staff's recommendation that the public hearing be left open with discussion continuing at the October meeting.
Second.
We closed the public hearing.
Now, Tim?
Well, that's an invalid motion.
Now, Tim, I'm trying.
Yeah, we'll postpone the discussion on this.
To allow staff time to provide
I
additional.
make a motion that we postpone the discussion on the proposed side ordinance amendments to give our staff time to collect more data and answer the questions raised in tonight's meeting.
Okay. And do you have a good idea of what you need to collect, or do you need more specific?
I think I have an idea about what we want to collect. I think that, what would be very helpful for the commission is maybe providing examples of what these individual signs would be considered out in the field.
Yeah.
Additionally, maybe bringing up existing, sign conundrums for existing businesses and/or multi-tenants and all the kind of things that we're kind of running into. We do have several examples that I can have the building department put together.
Okay. So we have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion?
The only thing I would add, well, I don't know if here's the time. Have we heard from any folks from our business community about this? And when we perhaps, continue the public hearing or have another public hearing, have we heard from them what they want?
They want a sign. I guess I've talked to many different business owners, not just on site retention visits, but when they've come in for their sign requests. Many of them are just frustrated that I can get a sign here, but I can't get a sign here. I don't want to put money up for a projecting sign, or I have to use a sandwich board because I can't get this sign because I'm multi-tenant. And so what I keep hearing is that it should be simpler, it should be more common sense, and that it should allow people to actually find their business. That's the common theme I'm hearing.
I would agree with that statement.
So I've told them about this meeting. I've told many people, I'm like, please do come and
Yeah.
let us know what you think, what you'd like to hear. Of course, it's a Thursday night on a beautiful summer night, so.
Okay, well, as long as they know and they have the opportunity to share their thoughts.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, number 9. This is the Central Business District Development Restrictions, discussion topic on construction demolition standards and balconies. So this is something I asked staff to include, and we finally got around to it because we've had a pretty full schedule all year long. And basically, one is we have these requests for balconies in the downtown come up quite a bit, and there's a couple schools of thought on that, and we really need to iron out whether balconies are going to be allowed over right-of-ways or not. So that's number one. Next up, when it comes to construction, we have these streets being torn up and vibrations and just the hum and rattle that goes with construction, and what level of disruption is allowable. We don't have any standards in this city for what's allowable. So you can really make some racket and it doesn't really matter. So organizations such as like Michigan Department of Transportation and some of the railway companies, when they are doing construction, they have their own limits that from the feds that they have to follow about how much vibration can be created. And I think that's something we need to look at for our downtown, because we're going to start to see more and more development, especially with this hail block. Then there's some other items. I don't know if staff wanted to add anything.
No, Tim, I think you covered it. I guess we were just looking for some specific guidance so I can set the zoning consultants out on what exactly affects and preferred regulations or best practices this commission is looking for. I think that from what we've heard over our discussions of 335 Center was, do we have demolition standards? Are there best practices? Are there vibration standards that should be met or monitored, or what is the preference of that? Construction best practices. Should balconies extend over the right-of-way? If so, how much? Also, what could be stored and how can balconies be used? Should you want somebody grilling on the balcony, even though, let's face it, they'd like to use that balcony and they can't really grill inside their home, but do you really want hot coals above you? Or do you want it to be outdoor storage? I mean, these are some of the, I guess, the design aesthetics we were talking about, because you are in your downtown, you are in your I guess, one of your densest area, it is your business district. And then I guess we were also looking at, and this is something I think was brought up, are we going to also talk about minimum retail on certain roads? I think that was something Janice had brought up with 335, because they have the parking in the back and then they have a long, narrow retail. Is that something we want to also look at? Because I know that had been brought up. And since we are talking about major redevelopment going on in the downtown, is that something we want to look at?
Okay, so I know we have one person in the audience left, and I assume this is the item he'd like to speak about. I don't know if you're ready yet, or if you want to hear some of the commission topic. In case you want to get out of here, you can come up now and talk.
Are you allowing him some insurance? Did he have an opportunity to speak now?
Yeah, exactly, some insurance. It's a joke.
A joke. This is what happens at 9:10.
You guys are keeping me up past my bedtime.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Rummel. I own and operate the business at 511 Huron Street, adjacent to the 335 Center Street project across Hogan's Alley. We've had a few challenges being located next to that project. I think it's about a $4 million project, 3-story complex. Certain challenges certainly are unavoidable. It's the cost of progress, and that's what we all deal with. But some I think could be mitigated, and some of the things I just wanted to bring up, and again, maybe some of these are already part of city code or rules, but just bring up a few items that I think would be important to kind of keep in mind as this group considers looking at this issue. One is vibration, concrete removal. There was a lot of removal of concrete through Hogan's Alley that was done not by lifting and removing the concrete, but by using a bucket of a backhoe to smash the concrete into pieces and then scoop it up. Our building shook continuously. Our monitors were shaking.
Oh, my God.
It was pretty disruptive. And, as far as practice in terms of removing concrete and demolition, that'd be the kind of thing that I'd hope the city would look at for future projects. Seismic monitoring, I believe some municipalities require project owners to provide some kind of monitoring for neighboring properties. The city does not. There's no requirements in terms of that here in South Haven. Sanitation, there's been times when there's been 1 to 2 inches of dirt in Hogan's Alley. I think one time I've seen a sweeper pass through there, but for most of the project, that's just kind of washed away. And I picked up a number of nails and screws out of the alley, just debris, things like that that have kind of blown across into our space. Noise becomes an issue. There's been some pretty loud music and things like that. That probably falls under some noise ordinances, I'm assuming, but we've kind of let that go. But securing the site, there's been a number of weekends when I've left, and there's been 6 to 8 foot openings in the fencing around the construction site. Labor Day weekend, there was a section on Hogan's Alley. It was probably about 8 feet long. Somebody could just walk right into the job site. The closing, closing of the street and the alley. The alley seems to be closed just kind of at the whim of the contractor at this point. I couldn't move my vehicle from behind my building yesterday because they had vehicles parked all up and down the alley. And occasionally they've closed Huron Street. I know at times with the permission of the city, but at other times I've seen them just kind of walk out and kind of block the street off for a period of time, just unload materials or do things like that. Staging of materials and parking for the workers. I think most of the summer there's been probably 15 to 20 up to 25 parking spaces that have been in use by the workers themselves. A lot of them drive one by one to the site. They're parking in the Huron Street parking lot along Huron Street. The construction trailer is still present kind of across the street from Cafe Julia's. At the onset, we were under the understanding that that would be gone by Memorial Day, and it did move out of the Huron Street parking lot, but it's still present downtown. So as we look at future projects and keeping parking in mind, I think having plans in mind for staging of materials, parking for employees. Certainly in the middle of December, it's not a huge issue, but once you get into the heat of the summer, there were a lot of days when the market was going on next to us, and my employees would come back and say there's nowhere to park. But I counted yesterday about 20 spaces in use which again, they need places to park, it makes sense, but maybe having a plan for where they're going to stage their materials, where their employees are going to park, at least in the heat of the busy season, would be a good thing to keep in mind. And whether or not, frankly, perhaps they should pay for use of the parking. And maybe that's something that in the long run could be kept in mind. I think those were, I guess, in the majority of the issues. I'm not here to complain or whine about the process. I know that these things there's going to be headaches with any development. But these are some of the things that have come up in the course of the project. One other issue with parking that I'd like to bring up is the introduction of kind of a new parking issue to the downtown area, which is the need for year-round residential parking. We talk about parking in relation to the summer influx, but now that we're inviting dozens of apartments into the downtown area and really only allotting one parking space per apartment, there's going to be a number of 2-bedroom apartments in the building next to my building. Certainly, there's going to be more than one vehicle per unit looking for places to park. And there doesn't seem to be a real solid plan for where they should park. The Huron Street lot next to my building apparently has a 24-hour time limit on it. Huron Street in front of my building apparently has no time restrictions. So someone could park their used car lot along Huron Street apparently with really no restrictions other than the even-odd parking rules that apply in the off-season, the plowing season. There's 3-hour time limits, obviously, on Center Street, but there's kind of this nagging question in my mind is where certainly there will be more than 18 cars in this 18-unit building with the commercial downstairs, and layering kind of the need for now long-term residential parking, more of that in the downtown area, I think is something that kind of lops on top of the existing parking issues with just the seasonal influx in town. So anyways, those are some of my thoughts, and I do think there's need for the city to look at providing greater oversight of contractors who are operating in the downtown area, and I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Time?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, first, not of you, Tom, but I'm sorry that, I can imagine your whole office trying to work on monitors. misplace a one or a comma, that could be a problem. But, so Kate, so when these developments are happening, who's assigned to check in with the construction folks and the staff?
City engineering.
And
Now,
city engineering meaning a staff of one, or?
we have 3 engineers.
Okay.
We have a city engineer, and then we have 2 associate engineers. We actually did just fill that final opening this year, so we were down an engineer for, I think, 2 to 3 years.
Oh.
We have, so we have that, and on certain projects that are of a certain size, we have had consultants come in and have to be an on-site monitor. So like the Dunkley Avenue and the Black River Street, we had to have an on-site person making sure that construction methods were being followed, that measurements were being taken, so that what was being constructed in the plans was actually being as built. So I don't believe that we have a requirement in our code that says for any construction project. That could be something we look into, and who's to bear that monitoring. That could be something we look into.
I mean, I think that would be a fair thing to look at, right? I mean.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking at is actually putting some limits in an ordinance form. And then the balcony issue, we need to have that discussion and know whether staff can automatically approve it or if it has to be a special approval.
And Mr. Chairman,
And some other items.
I've done a lot of traveling lately, and I've seen a lot of construction, and I guess I didn't realize some of the issues that can happen to neighbors that way. So I'd love to see some sample stuff to chew on of how other cities,
Keep an eye on it.
keep an eye on it and know that you can still develop, move forward and be a good neighbor during that construction process.
And there's plenty out there.
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned in the staff report and kind of floated the idea of maybe forming a subcommittee of up to 3 to 4 commissioners. I believe that's what we can do for a subcommittee. But to come and maybe either meet weekly or bi-weekly or something to kind of go through, because we've kind of listed quite a bit of things, as well as Mr. Rummel has also listed quite a bit of things that we should probably go through. And because our meetings we've really kind of booked up October 3rd at this point. Maybe this might be a very inappropriate, an appropriate way to get through some of this material and then bring back maybe some model regulations to the board as a whole. And I guess I would put that to you, Mr. Chairman, and the board, if that's something you'd like to do.
Well, to start off with, I think we should just put that MDOT list right in your hands, and we could probably use that, cut and paste it, and away we go. That would answer the vibration and construction part. But Tom brought up some things I hadn't even thought about, and, like contractors and parking and.
Staging and closing of roads and notice given, as well as balconies and minimum size, sanitation, debris, and seismic monitoring. So I guess while the MDOT list is a pretty good start for that part, it sounds like we have at least 6 others that we should probably delve into.
We haven't had a ton of construction in our downtown, but with a street reconstruction project that predicates the Hale block, I think there's going to be a whole lot going on that'll affect the neighborhood around there that we haven't seen in a long, long time or ever. So we need to get on this right away and have it in place before anything happens.
I think most of it that's happened was on areas that were, the bond property, so they're kind of all by themselves.
Yeah.
It was just suddenly, you've got neighbors right next door to a major project, other than just a small rehab of an internal or, a facade. So I think you're right. This is going to be something new.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to take some real-time data right now and anticipate and prevent problems as we look forward here, rather than taking mean time trying to compensate for problems that were caused.
Yep. All right, so if staff wants to work with the subcommittee, is there anybody that would volunteer for that one? Yeah? Okay. So I got
If you want to
Mike
get
Leary.
get a feeling for what that's, I walk around that corner every day at Huron and Center, and there's some really bad days, and I hadn't really, so I've been thinking about Maria's trying to eat outdoors, and,
Yeah.
definitely we could,
Does that mean you want to be on the committee?
I just volunteered.
I have Todd, Larry, and Mike.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
That's all it can be, because otherwise,
Unless they do it
I think
publicly.
5 would be a quorum, right?
Yeah, 5's the quorum, so if I think we could have
We could
up
get
to 4.
4, yeah.
oh.
Do you wish to be on it, Chairman?
So I, unless somebody else wants to. Otherwise, I will.
Okay.
Good.
Do you have time to?
I already have information ready, so it only makes sense.
But then I guess we should probably set our meeting.
Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know what works for you guys, like mid-month?
Tuesdays and Thursdays are best for me.
Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Tuesdays after the end of September, yes, but not before.
After the end of September.
Starting in October, I'm available Tuesdays.
Otherwise, Thursdays this month?
Thursdays are fine.
Tomorrow afternoon. I don't think so.
What do you want to do, right?
Yeah, I do, but that's a little too quick.
I'm open the 12th and the 19th. I guess those are the next 2 Thursdays. I guess I'm trying to think, staff-wise, if I have enough time to get something ready for the 12th.
Okay.
I couldn't meet on the 12th anyways.
Okay, so does the 19th then work for the 4?
19th is good for me.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't the 19th. I have another meeting that night. But that's okay, because I'll help supply some of the information. You guys can look at it.
Well,
Are there other days of the week that week?
Well, I guess we're also kind of flexible on time, because this is a subcommittee.
Yeah.
Of course, it's open to the public, but we can have this during any time during the day.
What time of the day works for you guys?
7:30 a.m.
7, it's not even open yet.
It's at Larry's house. I'm open all day.
Larry will be here at 7:30 a.m. whenever the rest of you want to come.
My wife will fix breakfast if you want to meet in my house.
Yeah. 19th,
Any time for me.
Anytime.
4 o'clock?
Yes.
Does that work?
Yep.
All right, 19th at 4 o'clock. And we'll figure on 2 hours. No longer than that, 4 to 6.
Okay.
All right, let's keep moving. It's almost 9:30. You have enough information now, right?
I do.
Okay. Next item is number 10, the Black River Park Office Building Review.
I want to make this real quick for you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We have had, down at Black River Park, a lot of upgrades. One thing that has been asked for is, one, we've lost our shed where we used to have maintenance items in there when we did the Black River, when we did the wastewater upgrades. So that was too old to be moved and it was demolished. Secondarily, the old shed that's basically the gatehouse is a glorified garden shed, and it's served its purpose, I want to say, upwards of 20 years. And the other thing is that it sits atop a swale. So the old parking lot is to drain there along an old existing sidewalk out to a drain. It doesn't work so good right now, especially with the building over top of it. So we are proposing that now that we have the new fish cleaning station, we are going to demolish the old fish cleaning station, taking that existing pad. We've measured out a 14 by 28 building that we would put on the pad with a small deck off the front that would have ADA access, as well as allow that water to go go underneath, so you wouldn't have to walk through the muck to get to the office. We would also take that building, partition out part of it out to have an office on one side so that we can have staff there monitoring the gate, there for boater inquiries, make coffee, whatnot, that we do at the other marina locations for. And then the other half, the southern half, or I'm sorry, the west half, whatever, we would have a workshop. Right now, we have no place to stain boards, cut boards, pre-measure, do any of the work that we do for the marinas. So that's what we're looking to ask. And so I kind of put in a model of the building that we're going to be ordering, and it takes about 6 weeks, and we will be outfitting it ourselves.
Okay. Unless you have any questions, let's make a motion.
Should we make the motion as recommended, or should we do something a little different?
Well, I don't know, whatever you want to do. It's your motion.
Well, I'm not sure exactly.
But we're not the
what-
Harbor Commission.
We're not the Harbor Commission, but I didn't know exactly what.
I assume this is because it's a non-permanent structure.
Right, I mean, really, it's a temporary building, but as I talked to the building department, our building inspector, once we start doing all these things, it's pretty much a permanent structure. So I guess you were just looking at approval from the planning commission to place a temporary but permanent structure of the
On the
dimensions
existing
14 by
pad.
28.
On the existing pad, that's what you're looking for? Okay.
On the fish cleaning pad that's
Yeah.
14 by 28
Yeah.
feet, with a deck to be included.
Economical solution to a small problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would make a motion then to approve that temporary permanent building to be placed upon the current pad.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah. Kate?
Yes.
You mentioned that a draining issue, that it sits across
A swale.
a swale. But
Yes.
Is that going to be addressed, that?
No. I don't have, the existing drainage in Black River Park is varied, as well as it's in a very low area. So we do not have any plans to redo any of the drainage right now. Currently, as it has been for most of the summer, it's been, if not underwater, it's been topped. And that's due to the high water. To redo the drainage, we'd have to reconfigure the parking lot, and that's down the road. That's at least in the next 10 years, but it's not now. Really, the drainage would be mitigated by not having the public or staff walking through the area where it is not draining. So this, the proposal here would kind of mitigate that through an easy workaround, which is easier than reconfiguring drains or dealing with high water.
Okay, thank you.
Kate, this drawing that you have, can you locate this building for us on the drawing?
What page are you on,
Yes.
Larry?
That's been turned off, but
Oh,
if you were to look at your map,
Yep.
page 99.
page 99, the fish cleaning station is the structure on the corner. That's the rendition of where the fish cleaning station is. If you see the other two structures, the larger structure in the paler pink, that is the current bathroom building. And then you see that sidewalk to a very small structure, that is where the new building would be, because it'll be on the pad of the old fish cleaning station.
Okay, okay.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Here's the second.
I seconded.
Rosalie, yes. Okay, we'll just do that again. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, all right. Staff and commissioner comments. Anything from staff?
I have a few comments, yes.
Okay.
Site plan, I just want to let you know, you have a couple more things coming to you in October besides the 3 items that we didn't get to fully today. One, I may be asking for a special meeting for site plan for Spencer Manufacturing. They're looking to expand. They're looking to get this in a hurry-up fashion. They did not get their site plan into us in time to make this meeting. Both of the site plan has been shipped off to zoning as well as the engineering for review. We're hoping to, once we get those reports, call for a special meeting on that.
Okay, and I think we're all very amiable to working with businesses like that so they can get I won't call it fast track, but at least get going quicker than our 30-day schedule. But I also say as a warning to any businesses that if we schedule it and we don't have your plans, a special meeting, if we schedule it and we still don't have your plans, then you're really wasting our time and
Yes.
and also waiting to the last minute may not get approved just because people haven't had a chance to review it.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and so in addition to this, to the Maritime Museum driveway ordinance and sign ordinance, it appears that the city council will be asking, and I don't mean to take your thunder there, Clark, but it looks like the city council will be asking the planning commission to take a look at medical marijuana facilities licensing as it pertains to safety compliance facilities. And I'll know more as we get that back. And then I did want to address Ms. Herbert's concerns. The last communication we had from her was on July 30, which I think we talked about at our August meeting. The building department is still reviewing her claims. We are taking it seriously. We are investigating them. And I disagree that this should be brought before the commission. I think this is very much a staff interpretation. Now, once the staff or the zoning administrator, as I'm acting, makes a decision, and that person does not like the decision, they can always appeal it to the ZBA. That's the provenance of what the zoning ordinance says. So at this point, I think that we're handling it. It is taking some time, but we like to be thorough. So that's my comments.
Okay. Do you want to add anything, Nick? Start down with Mike.
Just again, I wish I was had been more eloquent on the driveway issue. I meant cast no aspersion against the work from the ZBA. I do think, though, that just reflecting on the last few months of us being here, we're doing an awful lot of problem solving and not a lot of planning. And that's a concern. That's a concern to me. Even with the revetment thing we talked about tonight, I suspect we're going to be doing many more of those because we really haven't thought through how we can handle this long term. So I hope, and I know we've been busy this year, and thank you for getting us through all the business, but I hope maybe this fall, after the October meeting, when things slow down, we can have a little time for thinking about what we learned this year and the problems that have emerged that we've been asked to go after.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to go to the planning conference. I don't know if anybody else is going at the end of September, but I'm looking forward to it. And I know that there's an upcoming joint meeting for some housing, and I wish I could go to that. But I don't know if anybody's going to that either, but I think that's going to be so interesting.
Sure. So Monday night, next Monday night at 7 p.m. at the Integrated Learning Center at the high school, we will be having a housing joint meeting with the South Haven Housing Commission, the South Haven Charter Township, and the city, led by Ryan Kilpatrick of Housing Next of Holland, to talk about our housing options and what we can do.
I wish I could be there. I'll be in D.C., but good luck with that. So, but thanks again for the opportunity to go to that conference.
Once again, I'd like to thank staff for all their hard work in pulling all of this information together for us. I really appreciate it.
No offense taken, Mike. Kate, thank you for biting your tongue. Mine's kind of sore, too. But you handled her well, as did you, Mr. Chairman.
Not a lot of decisions tonight, but I think a lot was done. So everybody, thank you. I did get one inquiry with regards to signs, and the individual thought we were being unnecessarily amendment efforts towards real estate signs. But I think, what we're doing is making things easier and cleaner. So I don't see it that way. And because of the Supreme Court case, we can't regulate what's on the sign. So there you go. That's it. Thank you.
Grateful to be here. It's nice. Kate gave me a introduction to the ordinance today. I have some experience, but this is a lot to learn. So I hope to be better prepared for the next. I was a little bit lost tonight. I'll be better prepared for the next meeting.
I'd like to say welcome. Great not to be the newest face in the room. And yeah, I look forward to continuing to move on these.
Okay. Well, being it's our sesquicentennial, just to couple small items to end our night, and one of them, there used to be the Leighton Opera House here on Phoenix Street, just down to my left here, and there was a event they were having there, and to help advertise it, they put up this poster that had, and this is like early 1900s, that had scantily clad women, and all the preachers and deacons in town complained. And the marshal went and cut some cloth and made clothes that fit over this giant poster. And I found this article not in the South Haven paper, but in one out in Iowa. So there's some old signage information for you. And then, as part of the sesquicentennial, I think it's Hash is having a walk this Saturday through the cemetery. And what I want, my comment is, I think the Parks and Cemetery Commission at their next meeting needs to discuss how they're going to put up signs that denote in the cemetery which sections and which blocks are which, because right now we don't have that. And I think it's difficult for people to locate graves if they have not been to the cemetery before. So that's it. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.